All right, it is still Thursday, May 30th, 2024. It's 9:07 a.m. and this is an image of that which is outside of my window, which is not the natural environment. That's the light source right there. Let me put my finger right there over it. This is where the light source is. That's not the sun. This is not the natural environment. This is documentation of what is an ongoing crime committed by a public entity that is engaged in what is group stalking, referred to as federal group stalking monitoring. This is called light activity. This isn't sunlight. You've seen the flashing of light appearing on my ceilings and inside of my bedroom while demons are pacing around. That's what Rita Vega's son is engaging in. That's a demon pacing around in a vehicle. That lights on that vehicle is also a method of light activity. And you are aware of both his criminal activity and his condition. That's a demon, and that is committed to 24-hour surveillance with a corrupt government. That's why he's going to federal prison. It is currently, again, 9:08 a.m., and this is my shadow that's appearing on the ground, which lets you know about the immediacy and the criminal conduct that Vanessa Dries is engaged in. You've already seen her exhibiting her demon possession, engaged in terrorism via directed light, just like you saw the demon operating the Lyft vehicle yesterday, and just like you saw the demon operating a FedEx vehicle, actually, while you saw engineered light moving inside of my bedroom on my ceiling, creating multiple shadows and whatnot. That's what Vanessa Dries has exhibited, and she's group stalking again today while she drives in the parking lot, and these demons are engaging in what is repeated crossing in path. Rita Vega's son, Vanessa Dries, and now Precious Bastillos, who is group stalking with her minor children. And that's why she's going to federal prison. That's also pacing while he's walking then to his apartment. They're all moving in the engineered light. It's this. They're just crossing path with me over and over again, driving by, walking by, coming in and out of their parking spaces, and they're monitoring me, and they're under a light source that's not possibly the sun. And I want to remind you, this is exactly what I captured moments ago, but I decided to do a screen recording because you're witnessing, again, the prosecution. Not only is the state of California prosecuted by virtue of my documentation, which is establishing a criminal system underway, as I am in the state of California where this public entity is engaged in criminal surveillance, which is of a demonic nature. This is prosecution for what is terrorism. And it's occurring in the United States, not in some third world country. And the analysis is as follows. This is the specific environment is where the unnatural environment, it is literally a scientific impossibility, that the sun would be at the same address, which is exactly what I've captured. Even earlier than this, but I will use the evidence that the entity has provided for me today. And it is 9 o'clock in the morning I'm capturing, which is indeed the light source. It's directly above me. It's outside of my leasing window, my leasing office window. That is, this is stalking in the path with light. It's stalking because it's unnatural. It's not the natural environment. And that's how you're recognizing that. And that's also the environment where the phone is a means of audible activity creation. And the entity is regularly utilizing the phone as a means of audible activity, especially while the demon possessed, who are not fearful enough to stop engaging in state surveillance, but yet fearful enough to try to create diversions and distractions, which is also nothing other than the ongoing provision of evidence. But nonetheless, at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're recognizing what is stalking. Stalking is recognized by the unnatural environment. The unnatural environment is there because criminal presence is coexisting, and that's how you are criminalizing the presence in that unnatural environment. It is also unnatural because you're talking about the explanation for how do you have what is a fact. The unnatural environment, the evidence is establishing the fact that the unnatural environment is remaining around me, and those that are in that unnatural environment and perpetually present, whether you're around one time, such as a demon-possessed group stalker driving a Lyft vehicle, or whether you are perpetually present like a demon-possessed group stalker that's living in relevant position, you are equally engaged in that criminal conduct, which is presence in that unnatural environment, which is accomplishing what is surveillance, while that environment is remaining for a criminal purpose, a system. And it is group stalking. It's referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring. And at 9 o'clock in the morning is what I'm capturing today. And what I want to speak to is this is my shadow. And that's speaking to, I capture this so that you can see the light activity, driving in this environment, walking in this environment, flying, and then a demon that's surrounding, engaging in what is crossing a path conduct, including on Alvarado, are the elements of monitoring. This is state surveillance. It's occurring in the unnatural environment. You are understanding this. The evidence goes beyond what I'm going to remind you about right now, such as the sunset at the same property yesterday. You just saw that yesterday. And then the entity is engaging in what is the provision of evidence of an ongoing criminal system in concert with the people who are all demon possessed, engaged in surveillance together, operating under the same demonic spirit It is the spirit of Satan residing over a population, which is the reason why. It is no defense, okay? I'm giving what is context with regard to the criminal activity that a corrupt government is practicing with the people, and it is a matter of public corruption. Demon possession is by no means a defense. What it's speaking to is the fact that they need deliverance, okay? And only the Lord Jesus Christ can provide that deliverance, but nonetheless, they're going to suffer. They're going to be exposed as they are. It's already been exposed. All right. Not only your criminal conduct, but your problem. Your problem is that you serve Satan and that you are, again, in darkness. And darkness, by the way, produces bad fruits. That is criminal conduct. And it is practiced by corrupt law enforcement agencies, corrupt courthouses, corrupt sheriff's departments, corruption amongst the people that are engaging in what is the malicious and corrupt use of their businesses where they live, even using minor children to engage in criminal activity, which is of the highest level of demented. Okay. So this is captured at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I want to remind you, while you're looking at this, let's recall what was also captured at this same property where I am remaining present in on the same grounds. First of all, you have the light source, which again, this video in and of itself is very powerful evidence. I'm at the same address. This is, I'm at 1810 North Alvarado Street on the top. In other words, my leasing office. I am inside of my apartment building, which is on the same property at 1806 North Alvarado Street. And this is the same light source, which is supposedly the sun that remains in alignment with me. And this is at the end of the day. This is 6:25 p.m. where I'm capturing this. And then you're going to remember also the engineer light appearing above my head, just like you see here. This is impossible light activity. Okay, so first of all, the sun is not going to be present at one address, and that's exactly what this is. While I am at 1810 North Alvarado Street, which is downstairs from my apartment at one property. The Alvarado Gardens Apartments is not where the sun is rising and setting. It's not where the sun is present from 9 o'clock in the morning until after 6, after 7 o'clock in the evening. That's not the natural environment, nor is the sun remaining perpetually present over everyone, everywhere, no matter where you go, whether you stay at one address all day long or whether you're traveling from county to county, state to state for the duration of the day. Okay? That's not the natural environment. It is the unnatural environment, and it is also revealed once you are literally paying attention to it. And that is the purpose, and that is the provision, by the way, to the public, so that you are witnessing the unnatural environment that's above us. And it is in direct contradiction to the ways in which we have been told that the natural environment operates. Okay. But the sun is a gaseous ball of fire. In other words, it's in constant movement. It is not rising and setting at one address. Okay. And this is something that you are not going to get from your local news, which is, by the way, delivered to you by the people of the state. And the sunrise that they're talking about and the sunset that they're talking about, it's not supposed to happen at one address. And that's exactly what I'm documenting. That's the substance of the P.O.C. And even beyond what I'm showing you that's happening at one address, there's evidence that precedes this, direct evidence on its face with regard to federal group stalking and monitoring and federal stalking, which is sending everybody to federal prison at this property, everybody. But the entity is engaging in what is criminal conduct, which is prosecuting an entire entity, which the people of the state are in the shoes of the government. So when I'm speaking to the entity, I'm speaking to the people of the state. They are in the shoes of the state. This is what the government's using. The government's using the people of the state, and the government is hiding behind the face of the people. Okay. Any and everything that the people of the state say and do, they're doing it in the shoes of the government. And that is the third party status. And that's based on the environment, the unnatural environment, the scientific impossibility that natural environment could ever actually be. But for the P.O.C. evidence of it. And then you have the evidence of exactly what is the unfathomable, the unthinkable. First of all, a demonic activity that's so pervasive. But second of all, a criminal system that's underway, and it's maliciously underway to the demise of that targeted individual, supposed to result in the false defamation, the criminal defamation, because it's not a pecuniary matter being defamed upon federal group stalking and monitoring. It's a criminal act because the entity is defaming that target individual in order to facilitate, that is further, okay, a crime that it's committing. It's a criminal act, and it's of the highest nature. You go to federal prison for criminal defamation. Okay. The entity is very much engaged in what is threatening your life and your liberty, your reputation. You're talking about everything is at stake, where that government that is targeting you then seeks to defame you. And anyone engaging in that is going to federal prison, period. And that's also occurring on the venue of the internet. This is why you do not want to in any way interfere in a federal investigation, which is exactly what the purpose of documentation by the target individual shall represent. Okay. This is the light source at 9 o'clock in the morning today. This is the light source that's outside of my bedroom window, and I live at the same property where I work. So let's look at that again. This is the light source. That is not possibly the sun. This is documented as I spoke to. Sorry. This is documented as I spoke to yesterday evening, and this is 6:25 p.m. And that's light activity that's flashing on my bedroom walls, on the ceiling. That has nothing to do with sunlight. And as it follows, it's also this light source that's present at 9 o'clock in the morning, documented presence in alignment with me still. So I want you to understand what everyone is doing in this unnatural environment. This is called stalking in the path with light. And the engineer light that you see on my ceiling and flashing on my upper walls and in my bedroom, I live on the third floor. Okay, there's no vehicle, there's no sunlight that's creating a photograph like light activity, like there's no photo shot. Okay, no photos being taken. We're not in the midst of the paparazzi or something. That's light activity, and it's demonic. It's impossible light activity. And I want you to be clear, the entity is driving in this engineer light. This is what's actually covering the grounds, and neither is this even the sun. All right. And there is evidence speaking to the impossibility that this could be the sun, not only by virtue of looking at the time. Okay, the time that it's here. There is no sun that's going to be present at the same address at 6 o'clock in the evening today. This is what I documented last night. In addition, there is no sun that would ever be over Alvarado Gardens because the P.O.C. pre-exists with relocation to Los Angeles. And the entity has provided documentation that is evidence, speaking to what is the pre-existing environment that included the light source, which is it's a fact that it's a light source and not the sun, because I've already documented the entity maintaining a light source over me from the beginning to the end of the day. Multiple venues, in other words, those are crime scenes where the state was engaged in this criminal pattern of conduct. That remains on the record. All the entity is doing is carrying on this crime scene now where I live here. And you are understanding what is juxtaposing those crime scenes. And it is serving for the prosecution of an entire entity. The state of California is engaged in state surveillance, and it is recognized through the unnatural environment where it is occurring. By the way, you have what is recognizing the third-party facilitating venue, Lyft, that's in San Francisco, California. There's no sun that's over Lyft. Their corporate headquarters, which is a facilitating venue, a light source over that address in San Francisco. It's the identification of a crime scene where state surveillance is underway, because there's no sun that's over me for the duration of the day in Los Angeles that's sharing the sky space with Lyft, its corporate headquarters in San Francisco, California. That's identifying the pattern of conduct, which Lyft is also engaging in and participating, while those bearing its logo in the name of Lyft, in other words, and engaging in what is facilitating a state's criminal pattern of conduct that is threatening the life, the physical safety, the emotional well-being, and the liberty of an American citizen, where federal group stalking and monitoring is underway. And that is exposing Lyft, by the way. Outside of just letting you know, I want to be clear, Lyft is a third-party group stalker. And that's because a light source is over their venue in San Francisco, because it's not possibly the sun, nor is this the natural environment that I'm documenting remaining over me all day long. So what am I speaking to? I'm speaking to the ability to recognize where group stalking is underway and who's engaged in group stalking. The demon possessed. And the demon possessed are very powerful. They have a lot of money. They exercise influence. They're in politics. They're in law enforcement. They're in the courts. They're on the bench. They're practicing law with the public defender's office, the district attorney's office. All right. They're with the sheriff's departments. They are surrounding you in your neighborhood, and they're keeping you under surveillance. And they're of a very specific condition. I want to be clear. It is only those that have the spirit of Satan that are group stalking. Only. It is exclusive. It is as exclusive as the sun, which again, because the sun is a gaseous ball of fire that's not hovering over the apartment such that police departments can fly right through the sun and not be set ablaze. It's not such that the sun can remain over me all day long and then also coexist to being over someone in Nevada and in Florida and in San Francisco and Northern California. It is so exclusive that it is to the exclusion of everyone else while I'm documenting the maintenance of this so-called light source over me all day long, which is established as a matter of evidence when you're looking at it outside of my bedroom window at 6:25 in the evening. This is where FedEx is coming onto the grounds engaged in state surveillance. This is where Center for Better Life is coming onto the grounds engaged in state surveillance. This is where Lyft is coming onto the grounds engaged in state surveillance. This is where Ryder is coming onto the grounds engaged in state surveillance. This is where UPS is coming onto the grounds engaged in state surveillance. This is where Amazon Prime is coming onto the grounds engaged in state surveillance. This is where speaker companies, third-party group stalkers, the demon-possessed, are coming onto the grounds, are providing the grounds as a means of facilitation, literally the real property itself, where the government is engaged in state surveillance. You'll be prosecuted for that. Anything you provide to the state to practice this state terrorism, you will be prosecuted for, you will be liable for, you will aid in the recovery of that American citizen who has a right to not be subject to it. You don't want to be prosecuted for it. Well, by all means, don't participate in it, which is exactly what the people of the state are doing. And you also shall not provide any means whereby the government can engage in it. You want to provide your company, you want to provide your property, you want to provide your personnel, your workforce, yourself, your person itself, then you're going to be prosecuted, period. Okay? Because this is how that system works. This is how Satan is using the people in the state of California. Okay, so I want to make sure that I document that. It is, again, 9:23 in the morning as I walked outside starting this video. It's 15 minutes long. The light source is directly over me. And as you already know, as I've documented, the entity is maintaining a light source directly over me, which is the substance of my documentation. I am at the same property at, let's look at this demon, 9LVR518. She's going to be federally prosecuted as a group stalker. She's going to be published as a group stalker maintained by the Department of Justice. I'm at the same property. Let's be clear. My leasing office is right here. This is the building I'm inside of right now. And you're looking at the light source that's over me. And I am, facing what is the parking lot where this third party, whose license plate, I documented all of them. They were walking all around in relevant position as I walk outside. This demon pacing all around. This is the same property at 5:04 p.m. The light source is remaining over the same exact address. That is to the exclusion of any other location. Let me be clear. While it is over me at 9 o'clock in the morning, it is not over anyone in the state of Florida in the same manner in any way. The entirety of that object is over me, not over anyone in Florida. And it remains, by the way, at this address for the duration of the day. Now, when you are analyzing or recognizing the specific environment as opposed to the natural environment, it is to the exclusion that the natural environment would include the maintenance of the so-called sun for the duration of the day. And that is the substance of the P.O.C. This is also where you're seeing very heavily documented stalking by a corrupt law enforcement agency, which includes the LAPD, which is what I continuously document on a daily basis. The entity is engaged in what is group stalking, as I showed you. You're listening to this while impossible light activity is inside of my apartment at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Let me be clear. The demons are heavily engaged in stalking and surveillance, and they are in the position of law enforcement, which is, again, revealing the condition of Dominic Choi, who was disqualified and permanently removed from law enforcement and his position as chief of police while terrorism is underway on his watch, which you are not reasonably remaining ignorant of or can contend that you are actually ignorant. You have a pattern of conduct by the corrupt law enforcement agencies while I have documented for years the P.O.C. So Dominic Choi is not ignorant, nor can he reasonably contend ignorance. If you want to maintain the fact that you are manifestly derelict, that you don't know that 24-hour surveillance is underway using helicopters, that expenditure of funds, that manpower exhibited through engaging in that's fine. You can contend that, but no one's going to believe that. And I'm letting you know what the truth is. Dominic Choi is a demon, and so are the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, and so are the police departments that have preceded this department that's being heavily documented and exposed to date. They are doing exactly what has been documented before I relocated to LA, and they're doing it in a specific environment. They're sex offenders monitoring me inside of my private space in engineered light that is present at nightfall. That's called amplification. There's no helicopter in sight, which upon review of this video, you'll see that. There's no helicopter in sight. The entity could very well be hovering on the opposite side of building 1818. These are very pathetic and desperate demon-possessed group stalkers. Let me be clear. Demon possession will put a person in a very despicable and disgusting and very low position. It'll have you crouching to engage in sin, engaging in what are desperate measures, which is inhumane, it's unnatural, and it's very disturbing. That's what demon possession will do to a human being. And this is not beyond the LAPD. You've witnessed them literally hovering outside of my bedroom window and stalking while I am documenting inside of my apartment. Those demons know exactly what I'm doing. You've seen that before. You've seen them fly in circles, demonstrating their demon possession for 47 minutes. While at the same property where you're looking at the light source today at 9 o'clock in the morning, they were doing that in the evening after 6 p.m. And the light source was in alignment to my apartment, as though sunlight would ever be in a position 10 hours from 9 o'clock to aim any sunlight on that hillside. You've already seen them. They are in that very exact disturbing posture, that exhibiting that same obsession, that same unfortunate and very poor position for a law enforcement. It is shameful, okay? And it's also criminal. It's also terrorizing because of the position that they hold. All right? And they're engaging in criminal conduct, and they're stalking and monitoring. That's amplification. And it is repeatedly sounding inside of my apartment. And that is, again, in sync. So I'm speaking to the very realistic ability for them to be crouching behind in a helicopter behind this apartment building. Okay. But what I've also shown you, and the target individual does not have to establish where are the stalkers hiding. The target individual doesn't have to sit down and determine that. You're dealing with a bunch of psychopaths who are stalking you in a helicopter at that, in a circus environment. This engineered light, this light source all day long, okay, that's circus. That's a circus-like environment, and it's terrorizing to the ordinary target individual, and the target individual does not have to sit and define that and break that down for you. What the entity is doing is called amplification, and you've also seen amplification, and I mean that. You've seen amplification with your eyes. That is, while inside of my apartment, inside of my office, you've seen the great distance that a group stalker is in a helicopter, in a plane, but my ability to hear that, and that's not because of some clairvoyant ability. It's because the entity is targeting with the audible activity, which is the means whereby they are engaged in group stalking. It's audible activity creation, and it's demonic. And it's also happening in the specific environment. It is demonic. It is the demonstration of demon possession. And it is equally demonstrated when I walked outside of my office right now and you saw Precious Bastillos, then you saw Rita Vega's son, then you saw Vanessa Drees, or at least I articulated what Vanessa Drees was doing as I turned my back to show you the light source. And what they're doing is engaging what is demonic pacing. So let me show you my hand again. Driving back and forth, walking back and forth, driving back and forth, walking back and forth. And they are engaging in what is nothing other than pacing in the engineer light that's covering all of the property. And the entity is doing so with knowledge. All these demons are aware that they're being documented and exposed at the same time. So not only are they engaged in demonic activity, which is that the P.O.C. is serving for the criminalization of that surveillance that they're engaged in with the state, they are also engaging in demonic activity with the unlawful purpose, because a hostility of a demon-possessed entity shall be prosecuted for what is criminal obstruction of justice, and the intent to silence that target individual, to threaten their life while you engage in impossible light activity, while you engage in what is crossing a path, while you engage in what is amplification. You're threatening the life and the safety and the overall well-being of that target individual, and you'll be prosecuted for that. Okay, the demons don't just get to engage in their satanic behavior as one, just willy-nilly. Oh no, everything equals a federal charge. And the more you want to accumulate, the more you're demonstrating impunity. And even that's relevant to how long you'll sit in federal prison, for the routine mental examinations you'll be subject to, for the ways in which the education requirement shall be implemented with regard to what is providing the foundation and the substance of that which I'm advocating. You're looking at why, or you're looking at why you're disbanding. You're looking at why you're done with law enforcement. You're looking at why you are going to be published as a group stalker, never having anything to do with law enforcement, never working in the medical field, never being on the bench, never having anything to do with the legal field, etc. That's why. Okay? The entity is maintaining a light source over me. It's 9:30 in the morning. And you've already seen them engaged in what is heavily documented group stalking in a helicopter to the demise of the entire state of California. It's not helping Lyft in San Francisco. It's not helping these demon-possessed group stalkers who are going to federal prison at Alvarado Gardens. That's a demon that's crossing path and engineered light, and doing so with malice, knowing that they're being documented, engaging in criminal conduct in the face of the target individual. That impunity is going to result in federal prison for all of them. Okay? It is the individualization at federal court, doing so in concert with Rita Vega. Okay? Doing so in concert with Lucy Santos. Doing so in concert with the LAPD, who are stalking in a helicopter. Doing so with impunity. That's showing the mental illness of the demon-possessed. That's obsession that's exhibited. It's not occurring in the natural environment. And that's how you're understanding the intent that is attributed to the entirety of that entity that's maintaining criminal presence in that unnatural environment for purposes of that criminal system, while they're engaged in surveillance on the venue of the internet. Okay, it is 9:31 in the morning, so I want to be clear. The entity is maintaining a light source till the end of the day, literally over this palm tree where you've seen day in and day out stalking in a helicopter. That is the grounds of disbanding the LAPD, dismissing Dominic Choi. Let me be clear. Satan is defeated, and demons shall not have any position in law enforcement. Period. Okay, and you're understanding why, because of their criminal activity, their inclination, their predisposition to corruption. That's why. The threat that they are to the public safety. That's why. The entity is engaging in what is maintaining a light source at 5 o'clock in the evening, and you've already seen that. That's exactly what I'm documenting as you're looking at it again. Let me remind you of that. Okay, so it's not about just telling you. Yes, you've already seen it. This is engineer light as though the sun is in any position at the end of the day. 5:19 through closed blinds, both on my bed and also above my head in my bedroom. Okay, that's not sunlight. Neither is that demon that's going to the dumpster walking in sunlight. He's monitoring me in plain sight, and they're all witnessing the fact that I'm documenting that. That's impunity. Okay, in federal court, you do not hesitate to put such animals in federal prison. They're threatening the lives of American citizens. The entity is maintaining this engineered environment at the end of the workday. Okay, and this is where you saw again the entity group stalking while I am. Oh, this is yesterday afternoon. Okay, I know what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, that's directly relevant also, but I want to show you and this is again exercising fictitious authority. The supervisor, the so-called regional manager who was group stalking on the job. The light source is here at the end of the day, while she is acting on behalf of the state to engage in activity creation and crossing a path in concert with the LAPD. Currently, May 29th, 2024, it's 1:16 p.m. Let me see, not this one, hold on. Yesterday was the 29th. This is group stalking. And so is that. That's Maria. That's Maria Solis Alvarez, who was group stalking, and she's doing so. I want you to look at the light. The light. And this is ongoing. That's demonic pacing. So what you see the entity doing, what Precious Bastillos is doing, driving, what Vanessa Dries is doing, driving in the engineered light. What you see Rita Vega's son in the white Kia K5 moving his vehicle as though he's just parking. No, that's a demon. That's engaging in activity creation. Movement in the engineered light, the engineered environment. That's the significance of the specific environment. It's demonic pacing, okay? This is what's going on. And in this sky space, you see two helicopters. You're looking at crossing a path. It's very demonic, and it's occurring in the specific environment. It is the hallmark. It is the identity of federal group stalking and monitoring in that specific environment, okay, in concert with the people. And this is speaker companies engaged in group stalking in the workplace. No speaker companies is not going to survive the massive prosecution civilly with regard to draining the pockets of all of the entity that's engaged in workplace terrorism, harassment, and sexual violence as an entity. It's not limited to just the demons that work under the malicious guise of being employees of speaker companies. Speaker companies is a third party. Every employee is a third party, but the entity exceeds the third party company, speaker companies. So while Lyft is coming onto the grounds, while the LAPD are coming onto the grounds, group stalking, flying around, amplifying helicopter activity, which are the elements of monitoring in the workplace, terrorism in the workplace, all of that entity is serving for what is the prosecution of that third party company for facilitating federal group stalking and monitoring in the workplace. Understand that. This ongoing amplification outside of my office, flying over my office, and I'll show you right now the timestamps. This is crossing a path, and this is demonic pacing. You're looking at demons that are doing this. They're doing it in a helicopter. She walks into my office, which is how you know that a law enforcement agency is engaged in state surveillance. This is ongoing. The sun is not going to be over this property. Okay, the light source is still over this, and as I'm documenting, this is captured at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2:59, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You're looking at the light source that's over me right now at 9 o'clock. I just captured that, and it's literally going from one side of my person to the opposite. That's what this is, okay? That's not the natural environment. 9 o'clock in the morning, yesterday here at the same address on video for purposes of documenting and proving what is indeed impossible, and yet it's happening. Sorry for that. It is impossible, but yet it is indeed happening, and it's occurring in what is an unnatural environment. It is recognizing demon possession. It's recognizing demonic activity, which is criminal surveillance, because the government's engaged in stalking in this unnatural environment. And then you're understanding what is a whole other level of recognizing terrorism, because that corrupt government that is stalking is demon possessed, and they exhibit an ongoing criminal determination to obstruct justice while you enforce your rights and to continue stalking you while they are monitoring that ongoing documentation. Okay, that's a threat to the public safety. Okay, and that is what is the condition and the criminal conduct of Dominic Choi and the LAPD and the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, the law enforcement agencies, in other words, that are engaged in this state terrorism. And so that's what I wanted to remind you of. Just as an aside, it's 9:35 in the morning, so let me show you the light source that remains over me. Here it is. This is P.O.C. This is the light source that remains here. And as I captured at 2:59, when you're looking at demons flying in helicopters, 2 at a time, crossing path is what they're doing in the sky space. They were flying right over here. Maria Soli is coming into my office, group stalking. She's walking out, monitoring, crossing path, activity creation, coming in, speaking. She's engaging in the elements monitoring. She's walking out to her vehicle. She's crossing path while the entity is crossing path in helicopters. And they're together acting as one. That in sync conduct. That is establishing the conspiracy between the people and the state, by the way. It's an ongoing documented pattern. Conduct that is in concert in the specific environment. Insurmountable evidence with regard to federal group stalking and monitoring and the prosecution of the people, and all the ways that the people engage in that crime, they're going to be exposed to prosecution civilly and criminally for it. The light source is remaining over me as I'm capturing at 2:59 in the afternoon. That's never the natural environment, never. And then you have what is I'm showing you even after 2:59 in alignment to my bedroom while I'm on the same property, the sunset and engineer light flashing upon my ceiling and on my upper walls while I'm capturing video of what is under no circumstances the sun that would be in alignment to my bedroom. Let's count the hours. 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's P.O.C. That's called crossing path. Okay? And that's what the entire property is providing. People come onto the grounds to engage in criminal conduct with the state. And that's serving for what is a prosecution. Every iteration that it takes is serving for what is a massive recovery, in other words, but it's a massive crime. Okay? And justice requires that. Never before contemplated under federal law. And it's no longer a fallacy that the government is monitoring American citizens in this country. And it shall result in what is changing the landscape with regard to responsibilities that these well-paid companies exercising undue influence, by the way, in this country, exercising policies, okay, exercising influence in the Senate and amongst politicians. Well, this is revealing a necessary change in the landscape in this country as well because of the criminal conduct that this government is engaging in. And it's not only in California. And you know that by virtue of what is the unnatural environment that's not shared with anyone in Florida. Okay, the entity is maintaining this specific environment, which is what I want to go over. Since you see that light source, 936, 935. At the same time, the entity is maintaining a light source over me, which is what I want to speak to. The group stalkers that are yes, they are the same entity. Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, the Los Angeles Police Department, the Ontario Police Department, the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department. It's the same entity. The public entity, the state of California, is monitoring. Wherever it is that I go, which is what the P.O.C. serves, wherever it is that I go, the unnatural environment pursues, it follows. And so do the people of the state. That's recognizing criminal presence. That's recognizing group stalking. So the entity is maintaining, and this is what I'm going to go ahead and conclude this video with. At 9:35 in the morning, there is no sun during the same time of year that's going to be over me while you're looking at demon possession and the criminal system underway, replete with what is the hallmark of stalking in a helicopter. And this is the law enforcement agency that's engaged in group stalking. This same law enforcement agency engaged in what is kidnapping as an entity that is indeed engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And these demons are inside of the facilities, pacing around in engineer light, having multiple shadows, engaging in what is entering and exiting the facilities while they're monitoring me, wanting to outwardly appear as though they're doing something connected to their job. Oh, I'm coming in to pick up an inmate. I'm coming in to give them their medication because they were criminally defaming me as well, while they were engaged in what is demonic activity, wearing badges, acting with the demon-possessed so-called medical workers, those in the medical field, those that are calling themselves mental health professionals, and they're criminally defaming. They're demons that are engaged in the same exact demonic behaviors in the engineered environment. Engineered light filled those facilities. The light source remained over not because I could see it, because there's no windows that you can see the sun. But the presence of the engineered light is an admission with regard to the engineered environment. The entity is maintaining that light source, which has nothing to do, and it is not the explanation for the engineered light that's apparent remaining inside of that venue. But that's exactly what I documented. I documented on the facility cameras, and these group stalkers are on the streets and the highways while I am documenting the state, and they are in the shoes of the state, acting in concert with the people, and they're exhibiting demon possession, they're exhibiting malice. This is the same entity that engaged in multiple acts of kidnapping, and I documented substantially the San Bernardino Sheriff's Department and every single last one of them. When they came in pacing inside of that facility, they're on those facility cameras. They engaged in monitoring while a kidnapping was underway. They directly engaged in kidnapping while you are monitoring in the process, while a kidnapping is in progress. You're going to federal prison for that. And they're documented not only on those facility cameras, I documented them by badge number, the best means that I could while I was subject to that kidnapping. And any and every person that had anything to do with that kidnapping, it is intolerable and it shall result in what is federal prison, period, and permanent removal from law enforcement. So I want you to see these group stalkers because they are in a position of law enforcement, just like the LAPD, just like the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, and they're group stalking under a light source. Because that's not the sun that will be over me as you're looking at it to my left, where it remains on my right, setting in alignment to me into the evening at the same address. And you're looking at same time of year analysis down to the same time of day, 9:35. I've been capturing this video. It's 34 minutes long. 9:35 has come and gone. The entity is maintaining a light source here all day long. There is no sun that's going to be over the people of the state and the state that are group stalking, replete with what is the hallmark of using helicopter to do so. This is captured at 9:35 in the morning. So I want you to look at this. Stalking by helicopter. Hold on 1 second, because I want you to recall what the entity is doing here also at the same time, which is never, ever happening in the natural environment, that is. It's happening in the specific environment, but it's not the natural environment, sorry. So I want you to remember that this is 9 o'clock. Alrighty. License 5AWM074. They're crossing path. The entity is, as I documented already, stalking by helicopter, okay? This is law enforcement engaging in group stalking. And what do you have right here over my head where they're group stalking? And that's how you're recognizing stalking. That's how you're recognizing specifically group stalking. The people of the state are crossing path in that vehicle whose license plate I recited. The entity is crossing path in a helicopter. The light source is directly over me. You're recognizing group stalking in the unnatural environment. That unnatural environment is recognizing what is the crime scene where group stalking is underway by demon-possessed people who are acting as one. Okay, that's how you're recognizing group stalking and the phenomenon that is the environment that surrounds me, and the P.O.C. is serving the evidence for that. Everybody that's affiliated with law enforcement that's group stalking is going to federal prison. In addition to that, these group stalkers have repeatedly engaged in kidnapping and making up information while doing so, entertaining fictitious prosecutions in the court. I mean, from the police to the sheriff to the courthouse, everybody that engaged in kidnapping repeatedly, they're all going to federal prison. While you are a documented group stalker in law enforcement in the position of exercising your role officially as an attorney, for example, and you're group stalking, meaning you're in the courthouse, for example, and you're acting in the role as an officer of the court and you're group stalking simultaneously, you're done with law enforcement and you're going to federal prison. That's a threat to the state. That's a threat communicated by the state. That's a threat. They are in the position to substantially affect the liberty rights, the property rights of an American citizen. And they do so. They abuse that position to the demise of that targeted individual. You're going to federal prison for that, period. The entity is engaging in what is the light source over me at 9:35. By helicopter, this is the fake sun right here. Okay, there's no sun that's going to be over me in this position while you're looking at it remaining over me in Los Angeles, which is what you see at the bottom. Okay, again, it's currently 9:45 in the morning. This video I started 37 minutes ago, 9:35 a.m. The light source is in the same position. And you also know the light source remains over me at this same address. And while it's over me here in Los Angeles, it is not over me at this intersection off of Hellman and 7th in Rancho Cucamonga after I documented state facilitating venue, the California Department of Motor Vehicles, who was a group stalker. By the way, that's a state facilitating venue. That in and of itself is indicative of what the entire state of California is doing. When you have a police department that's group stalking, it's letting you know what the entire state is engaged in. When you have a state venue such as the California Department of Motor Vehicles, that is group stalking, which is, as a matter of fact, conclusive evidence already existing. And I documented it on this day. This is the day where the DMV was group stalking me, which is a threat to your life, by the way. And that's speaking to the removal of any personal private information, by the way. It's an illusion. California is monitoring. California is a Satan-serving, demon-possessed, group stalking minion. Okay, I'm speaking about the entirety of that government and the people of the state that are acting, cooperating to that criminal effort. And it's because they serve Satan. And Satan is defeated. Satan is defeated by virtue of exposure. Satan is defeated by virtue of criminally prosecuting it in a court with evidence that it presupposed would never be capable of being proven or established, because the P.O.C. is such that the target individual is supposed to be written off and discarded as mentally unstable, which is called malice, and it's called criminal defamation, and there's a federal charge for that as well. The entities engaged in maintaining... Pay attention to what is facilitation. This is the people of the state that are creating light... Stalking in the path with a method of light activity. You're witnessing demon possession. That's the demonic behavioral pattern. This is license plate 1455282. Yes! I'm fine. This is a shit. He's going to federal prison. Okay? He's a documented group stalker. There's no statute of limitations. He's waiting for what is an undue delay that the target individual has suffered. He's going to federal prison for even longer. Okay, that's how you're going to balance that out. He's going to federal prison. This is group stalking while you're in the position of government. That's an unlawful threat to an American citizen. This is a betrayal by your own government. They are abusing their positions, and they are group stalking. Let me be clear: the light source, the stalking in a helicopter, those are hallmarks. You do not have any defense. This is group stalking on its face. This is exactly what I'm documenting here in LA. And this is the additional angle of analysis when you are juxtaposing the crime scenes. This is how you're prosecuting the state and recognizing that system. This is the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department.
Popping up on the sidewalk.
No problem. What's your badge number?
Go on the sidewalk and we can talk. I don't want you to get hit. You're in the middle of the street, man.
I'm getting ready. So I want to be clear. This is nothing other than audible activity, and these demons are exceedingly hostile while they're sitting in a vehicle engaged in criminal surveillance. The light source is over my head, stalking in concert with the entity that's using a helicopter for crossing a path, which is terrorism, while you're subject to that everywhere that you go, including while you remain and live at the same address and you're looking at stalking in a helicopter, okay? While that light source is remaining over you for the duration of the day, which is exactly what you see here. And they're getting out of their vehicle and they are posing a threat. First of all, they're monitoring, they're wearing weapons, they're wearing badges, they're engaged in group stalking. And the reason why they're getting out of their vehicle, I want to let you know what these demons are actually doing. They are searching and hunting for a reason to engage in what would be a substantiated arrest, which you don't have when you're group stalking. You're not even concerned about my safety. It's audible activity. Remember that. And you do not have any jurisdiction or authority under the law when you're group stalking. So I want to make sure that you understand that this is everything that he's saying. I want to make sure you get out of the street. This is hostility to being documented. And then they get out of their vehicles. I want you to look at what they're doing. There's no need for them to get out of their vehicles. They're communicating a threat. While they are group stalking, it's already a communication of a threat. But they don't need to get out of their cars. All of this is serving a communication of a threat. And they're also demon possessed. That in and of itself, which becomes legally relevant upon federal group stalking and monitoring by a government, that's a threat. Across the street.
All your belongings are over here.
Yeah.
And you're standing in the middle.
I'm standing over here. I'm talking. You see how that demon gets out of her car? What's she getting out of her car for? What's going on? What is she getting out of her car for? All right. While I'm just documenting them and getting out of the vehicle with regard to, I just want you to, I'm not holding a gun. I'm clearly wearing sweatpants. I'm not hiding any knife or anything. And let me be clear. You're dealing with demons who know exactly who I am. They know everything that's on my person. You're dealing with demons. Okay. And they know that. But again, feigning authority, feigning lawful behavior, abusing positions that they have. Oh my goodness. I tackled the victim, the alleged defendant. I shot them because I had a reasonable fear for my safety because they were approaching. These are the things that happen. You see it on the news all the time. And the facts that are not a part of the investigation, which I put in air quotes, which not a part of the prosecution of these officers when they're in courts, these courthouses that are group stalking as well, these corrupt courthouses that are engaged in federal group stalking and state surveillance as well, is the fact that they were a targeted individual. And that's where you have what is literally malicious architecture of information. By architecture, I mean building it, creating it, just making it up, in other words, when they are abusing that position, posing a threat. And these are the type of things that can happen very easily, turn into what is a threat. Well, this is a threat to my life, period, but very easily can turn into the loss of your life, a very serious injury when you have demons that are engaged in public corruption, keeping you under surveillance, and then they become hostile because of the fact that you're enforcing your rights, because that's what's being captured here. But I want to be clear, this is nothing that I would ever encourage or suggest that an ordinary target individual do. The P.O.C. and literally my prosecution, my investigation of the state is something that is divinely protected. Okay, I don't suggest that anyone else try to mimic what I have documented, because I very well could have lost my life, but for the grace of God and him calling me to do what it is that I'm doing and exposing what is going on in the state of California. I do not recommend anybody try to mimic what it is that I am documenting. Going to this degree in documenting. I do not recommend that, okay? There is divine protection at work here, and it is the Lord Jesus himself, while I am exposing what Satan is doing amongst the government and amongst the people.
You now.
Right, just tuck in the sidewalk, because you're in the middle of the street.
Okay, this is P.O.C. I want you to, facilitation, gone. Okay, license plate 04669V1. What is your badge number?
Is everything okay?
I'm fine. What is your badge number? That's public information. This is B. Chapman.
F as in Frank.
F as in Frank. Are you guys engaged in surveillance right now?
No.
You guys staking out something?
No, we're just here.
No?
Hi.
Are you okay?
I'm fine. I'm documenting. I'm engaged in.
That's a threat. Are you okay? As though the target individual is disturbed. Understand we're getting to what is implying mental instability. When they are psychopaths, their mental illness is exhibited through their criminal conduct and the malice with which they engage in it. Stalking in helicopters, absolutely psychotic and unheard of methods of stalking. But for the P.O.C., the inability for the ordinary target individual to establish all of the aforesaid, this is the pattern of conduct, and this is a threat to your safety while you are enforcing your rights, okay?
Absolutely lawful conduct. How about you?
You're in the middle of the street. Standing in the middle of the street is not lawful conduct.
I'm standing in the middle of the street. Well,
I'm not standing in the middle of the street. I'm standing along the curb, actually, in front of their vehicle. And moreover, let's not be distracted. They are the criminal, okay? They're the criminal.
I'm referencing you. I was standing in front of your vehicle.
Good sidewalk right here, man.
Right, I'm referencing, I'm standing in front of your vehicle, and then when you're referencing me, I'm walking to your vehicle and addressing you. That's why I walked to that side of the
Why
vehicle.
didn't you go on the passenger side?
Because you're on the driver's side, you're talking to me, and I couldn't see you. She wasn't talking to me, you were.
This is all audible activity, and let me be clear, the ordinary target individual can very easily get caught up in something and find themselves subject to a kidnapping under the malicious guise of citing some penal code whereby the target individual is crossing the street unlawfully, or even argumentative with an officer, some sort of, in other words, I'm going to put it plain, nonsense. Okay, and it is a kidnapping. Under all circumstances, the entity is engaged in group stalking you. And this exchange with this criminal who's wearing a badge, he's going to federal prison. This is all audible activity. It's a threat to my life, and it's also a threat because they are literally. This exchange is a search for a state actor trying to find something to trip me up on. It's not going to happen, but this is the effort. Okay, so I'm just speaking. I know my rights and I know the law. The ordinary target individual does not necessarily have this combination of skill set and discernment and the ability to prosecute literally in real time, and also at the same time simultaneously point out what is going on in the spirit. These are demons, very malicious ones, and they're also criminals engaging in what is a secret system of monitoring. So I want to make sure that you understand what the ordinary targeted individual is up against, and it is very much an unlawful threat to your liberty, because you have a right to enforce your rights. And then while they want to engage and go back and forth, see if they can trip you up on something, I'm going to take you in on that if you don't know the answer. And that's nonsense. They're criminals, and they remain criminals. Okay?
Okay.
This is the pattern of conduct. Don't be distracted by this. What is your name? You work for, you're a public servant. What's your name? Are you okay? Because you're not, you're a demon. What's your name though? You're a sheriff's department. You can look perplexed as you want. They're in directed light, monitoring.
He's pacing. He walks away, and then he's walking back. This is a demon that's pacing. You pay attention to the behavior. Never be distracted.
By helicopter. Light activity over here. You still haven't given your badge number.
F as in Frank. 62.
That's your employee number. What's your badge number as well?
I don't have a badge.
Oh, you don't have a badge number? All of them have badge numbers. You're not wearing your badges, but that's okay. What about you? You're D. Marujo?
What is the
How do you pronounce that?
Is there anything we can help you with today?
I want your name. That's what you can help me with.
Say my name.
Did I say it correctly?
All of this, again, based on my just getting out of the street. They could have easily gotten out of the street. He asked me a question. I approach him. I take opportunity to document you. They start unloading out of the vehicle. They get out. They're in position. They're ready to take me down. I want to let you know these are very aggressive demons. That's what they are trying to inhibit. And they're monitoring. The light source is over me. That's not the sun that would be over me at the same time at what is Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, where the entity is keeping a light source for the duration of the day, which you've already seen. All right, they're under a light source that is not over they are under a light source which is not the sun, because the sun is not going to be over me at this same position where it's remaining until the end of the day, and it's also over me at that intersection of 7th and Hellman and Rancho Cucamonga while you're looking at that, and you're looking at what is the system of federal group stalking and monitoring, and they're both going to federal prison. Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm giving you both angles of analysis. The light source is present at this address where I work and live, and then also the additional angle is what is the juxtaposition of crime scenes, which is also serving the dual purpose of the P.O.C. The sun's not over this intersection in the same position over my head, and also remaining over me in Los Angeles on this left side of my person, and then remaining at the same address. That's impossible, and it's also not over Lyft corporate headquarters in San Francisco. It's also not over anybody in Sacramento or anyone in Texas and Nevada and in Florida. There's only one sun, and it's very exclusive. And the P.O.C. is serving to recognize where the pattern of conduct is underway, and it provides what is probable cause to investigate any public entity, any law enforcement agency, for example, for what is public corruption. Okay, because this is an angle of the law that's being violated, and it's not known. It's a matter of what the secret society is engaged in, and the government is engaged in what is, unfortunately, it is the secret society. Again, 9 o'clock in the morning. I'm at 1806 right now. I'm at my office right here. So and that's why I named 1810, because I'm standing right next to the building 1810. I'm standing right here outside of my office. The light source is here. While I am yesterday outside of my office at the same position, the light source is right here, right in front of me, and you're looking at demons flying in a helicopter, one after another, in relevant position, while the light source is here, which is not the natural environment. And where is it? At 6:25 in the morning, when I go right back from the office, I walk right up to my apartment, which is on the 3rd floor, and you're looking through the window of my same apartment building. That's at the same property. The sun is not in some position that it's in perfect alignment with me or perfect alignment with you wherever you are at for the duration of the day. Oh, no, the sun's not maintaining stationary presence. It just looks like it is. While it's at a great distance away, it just looks like that's impossible. It is over no one in New York or in Florida or in Maine, Mississippi, Nebraska. You can, whatever state you want to name, and it's also remaining in perfect alignment. That is not the sun. That's not the natural environment. The entity is providing ongoing wealth on an ongoing basis, which is illustrative of the criminal act of federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a ceaseless, systematic, cyclical system of group stalking that is underway with the people of the state and the state itself that is always documented stalking in that environment. That is, by the way, the prima facie for what is prosecution of the people of the state who are group stalking with that entity. So I want to make sure that you understand that first it is demonic activity, and that the people of the state are going to federal prison for that. But that live at a crime scene. So, for example, the target individual lives on Main Street in Washington, D.C. Everybody on Main Street is going to federal prison. Okay? Everybody that lives at Alvarado Gardens is going to federal prison. They are living at a crime scene. That's an intolerable level of facilitation of a government that is threatening your life. There is no legitimate basis for a government to be stalking you, to keep you under surveillance. Okay, and I'm going to give you, not only am I showing you what is the problem, I'm giving the answer as to why. Why? Because they're demon possessed. Demon possession is very real. Demon possession is also demonstrated. It is illustrated in the behavior. Also within the body of evidence of the P.O.C. They have demonstrated it, and I documented it so that you can both witness it and it can be prosecuted. Okay, it is currently, again, 9:59 a.m. and this is P.O.C.